My parents forced me to lose weight for my sister's wedding, but after my transformation, they couldn't handle my success. The pressure begins. It all started on a quiet Sunday evening, the kind of evening where the house felt too still, like the calm before a storm. We were sitting at the dinner table, my mom, my dad, my sister Emily, and me. The clinking of silverware against plates was the only sound until my mom broke the silence. "You know, your sister's wedding is in 6 months," she said, her tone casual but her eyes sharp. She was stirring her tea, the spoon clinking against the porcelain like a metronome ticking down to some inevitable deadline. "Wouldn't it be nice if you could tone up a bit, just so you look good in the photos?" I froze, a forkful of mashed potatoes halfway to my mouth. My dad chimed in, his voice dripping with faux concern. "We're just thinking about your health, sweetheart. And well, it's a big day for your sister. You wouldn't want to stand out for the wrong reasons, would you?" Stand out for the wrong reasons. The word stung, but I was used to it. My parents had always been obsessed with appearances. My sister, Emily, was the golden child, slim, poised, and perpetually perfect. She had the kind of effortless beauty that made people stop and stare. I, on the other hand, had always been the curvy one, the one who didn't quite fit the mold of their ideal daughter. And now, with Emily's wedding looming, it seemed my body had become a problem they were determined to solve. At first I resisted. I told them I was happy with who I was, that I didn't need to change for anyone. But the comments kept coming, subtle jabs about my eating habits, unsolicited advice about workout routines, and not so subtle hints about how proud they'd be if I just put in a little effort. Emily even got in on it, sending me links to bridesmaid dresses in flattering cuts and colors. "You'll look great in these," she'd say, her voice sweet but her eyes scanning my body like I was a project that needed fixing. The turning point, the breaking point came one evening when I overheard my parents talking in the kitchen. "I just don't understand why she can't take this seriously," my mom said, her voice hushed but sharp. "It's Emily's wedding. The whole family will be there. Do you know how embarrassing it will be if she shows up looking like that?" Something inside me snapped. I wasn't sure if it was anger or determination, but I made a decision that night. I would do it, not for them, but for myself. I would prove to them and to myself that I was capable of more than they thought. The next day I started small. I cut out sugary drinks and replaced them with water. I began taking daily walks around the neighborhood, enjoying the crisp autumn air and the sound of leaves crunching under my feet. I even started experimenting with healthier recipes, discovering a love for cooking that I never knew I had. Zucchini noodles, roasted vegetables, protein-packed salads. I was amazed at how good healthy food could taste. Then I joined a gym. I'll never forget the first time I walked through those doors. The smell of rubber mats and disinfectant, the hum of treadmills and the clanging of weights. It was intimidating, but also exhilarating. I started with light cardio, then gradually worked my way up to weightlifting. The first time I deadlifted 100 pounds, I felt like a superhero. The more I worked out, the stronger I felt, not just physically, but mentally. For the first time in my life, I was doing something for me, not because someone else told me to. The transformation. 6 months flew by, and by the time the wedding rolled around, I was unrecognizable. I hadn't just lost weight, I'd transformed. My dress fit like a dream, hugging my curves in all the right places. My skin glowed, and my hair, which I'd always kept in a simple ponytail, was styled into soft waves that framed my face. I walked into that venue with my head held high, feeling like $1,000,000. The looks on my parents' faces when they saw me were priceless. My mom's jaw literally dropped, and my dad stammered something about how amazing I looked. Even Emily, the bride herself, seemed momentarily stunned. "Wow, you look great," she said, her voice tinged with something I couldn't quite place. Jealousy, disbelief. Either way, it wasn't the warm, sisterly reaction I'd hoped for, but their initial awe quickly turned to something else. As the night went on, I noticed the subtle shifts in their behavior. My mom kept making backhanded comments about how I must have starved myself to look like that. "You're practically skin and bones now," she said to one of her friends, loud enough for me to hear. "It's not healthy." My dad awkwardly joked that I'd stolen the spotlight from the bride. And Emily, she barely spoke to me, her smiles tight and forced whenever we were in the same room. The confrontation. It wasn't until the reception that everything came to a head. I was dancing with some cousins when I overheard my mom talking to a group of aunts. "Oh, she looks great, but honestly, I think she took it too far," she said, her voice dripping with disapproval. "I mean, she's practically skin and bones now. It's not healthy." I felt a surge of anger but decided to confront her later. When I finally pulled her aside, I asked her why she couldn't just be happy for me. Her response left me speechless. "We just didn't think you'd actually do it," she admitted. "We thought you'd try for a bit and then give up like you always do. But now, well, you've made us look bad. Everyone's talking about how amazing you look, and it's taking attention away from Emily." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. All this time, they hadn't actually wanted me to succeed. They'd wanted me to fail, to stay in the box they'd built for me. And now that I'd broken free, they didn't know how to handle it. Moving forward, in the weeks that followed, things only got worse. My parents became increasingly critical, picking apart everything from my diet to my workout routine. "You're going to the gym again?" my dad would ask, his tone laced with disapproval. "Don't you think you're overdoing it?" Emily barely spoke to me, and when she did, it was always with a hint of resentment. "I guess you're the perfect one now," she snapped one day when I mentioned how much I was enjoying my new routine. It was as if my success had somehow diminished hers and they couldn't stand it. But here's the thing. I didn't care. For the first time in my life, I was proud of myself. I'd proven that I was capable of more than anyone, including myself, had ever imagined. And if my family couldn't handle that, then that was their problem, not mine. In the end, my transformation wasn't just about losing weight. It was about finding my voice, my strength, and my self-worth. And no amount of jealousy or criticism from my family could take that away from me. If anything, their reaction only confirmed what I'd always suspected. Sometimes the people who claim to love you the most are the ones who hold you back the hardest. But once you break free, there's no going back. And I wouldn't have it any other way. Now, when I look in the mirror, I don't just see a thinner version of myself. I see someone who fought for herself, who refused to let anyone else define her worth. And that's a success no one can take away from me,